Hey, what's up? It's the Dirty South podcast. It's man, I think it's like our sixth or seventh week already of this, and uh,
You can't
it's
count that high, so we might as well just go ahead and stop doing that anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
That's
once
why I
you get past one hand,
don't.
you're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm
So
done, and that's why when I post it, I don't say I Dirty South episode whatever. I just post. Great. This week we spoke about whatever we speak about, and then we're back on. But yeah, those who don't know, Ward Wrestling, SE Wrestle. We're back and better than ever. Remember Mike and Mike in the morning with that show they used to have on ESPN? We're back and
no,
better
because
than ever.
yeah, I'm terrible. I'm terrible at consuming my own, like consuming media. I'm much more of just trying to like talk about things and do things. So no, I'm
Oh,
terrible.
it's awesome, man! What a great week. Actually, you and I both shoot predominantly sports, right? That's what we shoot with our cameras. And this past week, I got to do a quinceañera, and it was really, really awesome. I've never uh, I've never done anything like that before. I got to do that, and it was awesome. The young lady was gorgeous and beautiful, and she had this big long dress, and we did pictures and photoed the
And you're
event.
like, where's the head and arm?
Yes, yes. I'm like, can she wrestle? And well, her brother is CJ Torres, so he's
Oh, okay.
it is a wrestling family, but she plays tennis. So it was cool to
I
cover
got
that.
you.
Yeah. So there
Well,
were wrestlers in the room.
congratulations to her. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't only just shoot sports. I only shoot wrestling. Like I haven't even shot anything else.
Oh,
So
it's very limited. Well, mostly I did get a basketball team last year, so that was pretty cool on my media days. Hopefully, I can branch off there. The name is Ward Wrestling. The name is SE Wrestle. So I mean,
right.
wrestling is what built our brand, right? So I don't think I'll ever remove that from my brand, but I will. Maybe I'll call it Word Wrestling and a little bit more.
Yeah, we could go so many different directions with that. We're gonna go ahead and stay
Yes,
with wrestling here.
stay with wrestling here. Yeah, but it was cool. So congratulate to her and her family, and that was awesome. And there was some, there was definitely, it was definitely a good time. And I broke out a photo booth for the first time at the quinceanera. So to the
Those are
teams
cool.
out there, we're going to have the photo booth option for you when you sign up. If you want me to be at an event or us together at an event, we can find a beautiful price for you to pay to have the photo booth there. And I'll create a background for you, So it'll be
That's
like
cool.
for example, I know you were transitioning into to this. I know you were at Boston trained this weekend in Cleveland, Tennessee. So for example, if we were at that event and we set this up for the kids, we would create a Cleveland, Tennessee background for their camp or for their girls theme, and then the girls would come up and like, yeah, 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 and do their whole thing, and they can
I
post
don't
it and
I don't
market it. But
I don't know that they need any background.
yeah,
They'll do it
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll be fun. But speaking of that, I know that was your stop this week, and man, talk about that. I saw some videos, and what a program they've built there.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the cool things about it was they hosted the girls from many girls from all over the country. In fact, they had four U17 world team members that were there. So Morgan Turner, Kaylee Manuel, Piper Fowler, who obviously won a world title for Cleveland last year. And then Bella Williams from Oklahoma was there. But one of the cool things was you had kids who were like brand new girls who didn't know anything about wrestling, who probably were just from the area. Then you had college girls, college women who were there who came in from different places. And one of the reasons the college women were there is because the camp was run over 4 days with different college coaches coming in and showing technique to the kids and those sorts of things. So it was a ton of fun to watch them, you know, kind of learn, to talk to them, see what they're taking away from it. And Boston does a great thing, or a great job up at Cleveland. It wasn't just for Cleveland girls; it was for women's wrestling in general, and it was pretty awesome. And then just to throw this out there, he took all the U17 world team members, or like the highest level girls, on I think it was Saturday, and he took them whitewater rafting. and
Oh,
and I got to talk to Morgan Turner about her getting dumped in the water and all these sorts of things and everything else. They were cracking me up because you're talking about some girls who are so fierce on the mat, but man, that was they were outside their
yeah.
comfort zone a little bit. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah. You can wrestle on the mat, but nature's a whole nother beast, right? And, yeah, that program is unbelievable. I got to experience that room a few years ago. When I went up to the COVID scuffle, the scuffle that happened during the COVID, and I got to bring Daniel up to his room, and he got to train with Boston and those guys. But it's really cool, man. The history in that room, that back, where you come in the front door in the corner, and they
Yeah.
have all those plaques and trophies, and um, definitely an awesome room. And man, that's cool that you got to do that. But and I'm sure you had a blast.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about repeatedly now, so many different times, and that is opportunities exist, right? Jason Dolph will be around the corner here in Georgia, you know, yeah, tomorrow.
Jordan Burroughs is going to be down in Merritt Island.
Exactly. If you're looking at, top level women's, college coaches and that sort of thing coming in and showing moves and working with girls that are at all sorts of different levels, whether you're a girl, you're a guy or whatever, these opportunities are just they're priceless and they all exist. And I know they all cost money, so that's a thing. But
Right.
it's not as if I mean, back in the 80s, you would have to get in a bus or a van and drive to Iowa if you wanted to see,
Well, and I mean,
Dan Gable.
yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
what's cool now is seeing these kids, kids, young men, young women, whatever you want to call it, coming back. I mean, we saw Pat Lugo doing something. We see
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Haas doing something. We see the Minto brothers doing something.
Right.
You see you see the girls coming back with the Reeses and the Buoys and the Solarias and all the girls coming back from college, and you're starting to see all these kids start to get involved into their communities and give back. And it's pretty cool because if you're sure, obviously the kids, Jason Knopf or you know these huge girls like Adeline Gray or the Blade sisters or whomever it may be
Mm-hmm.
that are just other levels. But for the most part, a lot of these little kids locally, their idols and their mentors and the kids they looked up to were the high school kids that they watched
Yeah.
wrestle in the
Yeah.
room. So to to them, like getting a chance to go see Cooper Haas or Minto or Pat Lugo or whoever comes back and does that is like, oh my God, that's their hero, right? And I think that's really pretty cool.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. It was a great experience. I'm glad that Boston invited me up. I'm glad I had an opportunity to go up and be around and talk to the girls and I saw girls. I saw Maya Alvarado's and her dad up there from Lake Highland Prep. I saw Georgia girls up there. I saw girls from all over the country who came in for this camp and combine. It was pretty cool.
Oh, I'm excited to see. Speaking of Maya Alvarado, she's really, really getting good, and obviously, it's hard not to get good being in the program she's at. Uh, you either get good or you're you
Or
can't get good there. Yeah, yeah, definitely. If you can't get good there, something's wrong, right? So we see that, but it's awesome. I know 14U and 16U duels went off last week. We had some Southern teams in there. I think, but I really only saw, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I was also trying to read through your recaps. Georgia and Florida made some final day pools. I saw that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, who,
So
who,
go ahead.
who else
Sorry.
did we see? I didn't really. I tried to keep an eye. I know in Greco we had some other Southern kids do really well, but
Yeah.
it seemed like Georgia and Florida were the main groups, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. So your teams that took really full teams. I mean, so Florida and Georgia really took teams to both Pennsylvania and Utah. And if you missed last week, 14 U's was in Pennsylvania. They wrestled Greco and then freestyle, 2 days of Greco, 2 days of freestyle. And 16 U's were in Utah. They wrestled the first 2 days in Greco, second 2 days in freestyle. But we had Team North Carolina was there at both locations. Team South Carolina took some 16Us out to Utah. Team Tennessee took a 14U group up to Pennsylvania and that sort of thing. But what you kind of get is what you kind of expect, and that is you get some wrestlers who do extremely well. But as a team, you better be packing 18 hammers in because
Right.
Pennsylvania, they don't mess around, and their 18 are 18 studs. So while each of these teams had some studs on their teams, if you were finished, so there were like 4 pools, A, B, C, and D. If you finished top 2, you made you made the gold, silver pool. Means you were top 8 in the country, right? If you finished 3rd or 4th in your pool, finished bronze, copper pool. That's a hell of an accomplishment. That was really, really quite good for several teams who made that level. And then you have red, blue pool, green, yellow pool, and that sort of thing. And it's kind of a mixture of, some really good individuals on some teams where, they struggled a little bit. So,
Well, speaking of that's, can you hear the dog?
no,
Oh, good.
no.
Speaking of individuals, I mean, how about Mac Andrews?
Yeah, man. Mac Andrews wrestled fantastic. I know he was unbeaten in Greco.
And I think 7-2 in freestyle. I think he
Was he
was
7 and 2
7-2.
in freestyle? I'm gonna look that up real quick because
And then,
yeah,
of
he
course,
had a heck of a weekend.
and one of the Mills brothers I saw really had a hell of a weekend. I mean, they tend to always have a good weekend. I mean, the percentages are high that one of them is going to do really well because there's so many of them, but percentages are
they
high.
all do
Yeah,
well. It wasn't even the percentage, right? So
one of
yes,
them's coming out of the bracket.
so I'll tell you, both Araya and Taquavius both wrestled extremely well. I will say Araya, who's your littlest one, your 88 pounder, he and Cody Clark, man, they combined. They are a little duo. You watch them, they're inseparable. They're all over the place together, right? They practice together, they train together, they do everything together. If you see them in Fargo, they will be right next to one another. And I guarantee you they'll be cheering each other on and everything else. Both were 7-0 in freestyle. Mills was unbeaten in Greco. Cody Clark had 1 loss in Greco. But these two are so talented. Cody Clark's only loss came after he bumped up a weight class to get a match.
Because he wanted to wrestle.
Yeah, because there was no 88 pounder in this duel. So Mills bumped up to 94 and won. Clark bumped up from 94 to 100 and lost in a good duel. And he finishes the weekend like 15 and 1. I mean, dude's a stud. Like, I'm telling you what, the 3 you named in 16U, Mac Andrews in Florida, Cody Clark, and Araya Mills were outstanding. They were outstanding.
It's been fun to see the growth of Mac. I mean, obviously, I love that I'm doing this with you, and I'm getting to learn about kids from the Carolinas and Alabama and Tennessee, and I'm really going to try to get better at it. So to the people out there, I am. But seeing the growth of Mac Andrews, I mean, I remember, oh man, I remember last year in Fargo, he wrestled a kid, and I'm trying to remember who it was, and it was a Florida kid who's an absolute stud, and he wrestled him really, really well. And I said to his dad, I go, wow, that was impressive. I mean, he wrestled that kid really well. And his dad was like, yeah, he's coming along. And the great thing is, and I love to see this, is parents now getting out and taking pictures. And his dad has become a photographer. He's got a big camera, and he's been out taking pictures. But what's great about that is, obviously, as as I did too. I mean, I went out, I got pictures of my kid, right? Obviously, he's out there because he wants to get pictures of his son too and make sure he has those memories. But what's become of it now is he's traveling with his kid's high school team, his kid's club team. He got to go out and do the duels and be there. So we were able to have a photographer now at this event so that these kids get memories, right? It doesn't necessarily, and I just love now to see that happening, because when I, at least when I first got into it, you were there already and you were doing your thing. Um, but a lot of
And
places
it'd
I
been
would,
there a long time.
right. But so you can attest to this. There was nobody. I mean, even when I came out during COVID and went and stood next to you, a lot of times you and I would be at these big tournaments and it would be you and I.
Yeah. So what's interesting is it's evolved, right? I mean, so I've been fortunate to be right here watching it evolve. Back in the 90s when I was doing stuff, shoot, I couldn't afford a camera that we walk around with right now. Like, I mean, there's no way in the world I could have afforded a camera. And I didn't. So, I wrote mostly, more like Brant Parsons and doing different things like that and everything else. And doing rankings and everything else. And it wasn't until I actually bought a camera in the 2000s to take pictures of my kids that then I was like, oh, I've got a camera now. It's not a great camera. It's an okay camera. And I would go out and shoot. But you're right. There wasn't a whole lot of people. And the other thing is that what we see is you might see a parent who has a nice camera who's been around for a little bit, but they're there, and then the 4 years or the 8 years or whatever comes to an end, and they look at it and go, hey, I'm now going to go take pictures of this, or I'm going to go take pictures of that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and so
Well,
the wrestling community
and
loses.
now what we're seeing too, and I know we went down a rabbit hole here, but really quick.
We did.
Yeah. But now what's cool is obviously with technology evolving and career opportunities changing for kids coming out of schools and educations, they're being taught um, photography and graphic design and things like that. So now what's really cool is you're starting to see young kids out there with their programs, with the camera, and getting the memories and doing that. And that's what it's about. I mean, these kids want to grow up and be our age and be able to go
They don't
and
want to be
look.
our age, but they
No,
they they want to get older and have a little bit of money, I'm sure.
well, yeah, and but have be able to say, hey, you know what? Look at this. This was Daddy when I was wrestling, right? And like, I wish I could find pictures of me playing basketball and tennis and soccer and football. There's nothing. I can't find anything. And we have a book in the garage like this that has photos in it from when we first got married and things like that. And when it's because remember you had to take the picture, go to Ecker, drop it off, bicycle home, wait till 4 o'clock, bicycle back to Eckerd's, get the pictures, go through them, keep the ones you want, pay for the ones you want, right? This was our life, right? You had to wait for the rotary phone to ring and say your order's ready. Yeah.
Let's bring up all the old things. But
Okay.
yes.
But yeah, so anyway, to see Mac Andrews grow and see what he's becoming is awesome. And to his dad out there creating memories for these young men and women. God bless you, man. I'm glad you're out there doing it. And
Yeah.
all the parents,
Yeah.
mothers and fathers out there doing that, and the kids coming up. It's great. But transition, we got.
Hey, hang on. Hey, before we transition, we talked about three names at 16U. Okay. And those three names were studs, but we've got a few other names I want to make sure that we touch on. And that is Ronan On out of Georgia. He was unbeaten in freestyle. He beat some studs. But you know what? There were some really good wrestlers from the state of Florida. Giovanni Tovar, he had a couple losses, I think, in Greco, but he went 8-1 in freestyle. 8-1. I believe he's a first year 16U. That is impressive. Being a first year 16U, going 8-1 at this event was impressive. Jonathan Moreno, 6-1.
I was
Peter
impressed with.
Mocco.
I was impressed with Lucas Lane.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Lucas
we're down
Lane
to
wrestled
14
really
years. I was
well.
thinking on 16 years, but yes,
Oh,
Lucas
okay,
Lane was
yeah,
another
yeah.
one.
Lucas Lane, Logan Price, Mateo Gonzalez, Sultan,
Yes, yes.
Sultan also.
Christian Soto was 8-1 for Team Florida in 16 U's. So Florida had quite a few who
That's
wrestled
awesome.
extremely, extremely well. And the other one, and I know that we're focused a little bit more on Florida, but kids like Hayden Smith out of North Carolina. It's tough. It's tough being on a team that's taken some lumps and you still going out and doing your job. You going out and finishing 4-1 or 5-1 for the tournament. When your team's
It's
taking
tough.
some L's, that shows a
Well,
lot that you're willing to go out and continue to battle.
listen, I know 14U. I mean, no, obviously Florida and Georgia filled rosters, but some of these other teams didn't. But a kids like Chase Smith and Bobby Joe Adamson at Tennessee that went 7 and
Yes.
1. I mean,
Yes.
uh, that's awesome to see those kids. And the 106 from North Carolina, uh,
Who?
Katoe Bird.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, some good Liam Neeson. I see Liam Nielsen, and I keep thinking Liam Neeson. I'm thinking of the movie guy. Yeah, so some good wins there, and I know we're transitioning this week to where we see the girls' duels of those age groups go out. Unfortunately, Florida doesn't have a 14U team this year. They've got a 16U team.
That is
Um,
correct. Yeah.
and I
And
saw
if you
some
go
of
to
the
if you go to the website while we talk about it, I've got the same thing of I did yesterday that I did last week.
Yeah, I got the 14 and 16U girl duels previews. We have those up here. Um, and listen, I mean, I saw message boards on Facebook and different chat rooms where somebody said, it's really sad Florida doesn't have a team. Well, they put a qualifier out there, and they had like 17 girls or something, and that was
Yeah.
7 of them were in the same weight class, and uh, unfortunately, that's what happened. So I don't know all the details, but that's what I was reading about, and
Yeah.
so that's
So
that.
so a little background for everybody, just a little background, right? Last year they combined 14 and 16 U's into one event, um, one duels for them and a one duels for the junior women. Okay, which was fine. I do think that this is where I struggle. This is where I struggle because I don't know if providing more opportunity is helping us grow the sport or if it's actually hurting us because we now have events and we have forfeits and different things like that. So, you split 14U and 16U girls into two different groups. Alabama's not taking a team to either one. Okay. But Florida has a 16U girls team, no 14U girls team. Georgia has both. So that's something to be considered. North Carolina doesn't have a team. Tennessee has teams in both of those. So are we, I in Georgia this year, there will be two dual state champions for girls. There's already classifications for girls for duels.
That's awesome. We need that in Florida, but that's another conversation.
Well, but do we? I mean, if look, you've got
no, we don't need two classifications. We need a dual championship like they do.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
We need a dual championship 100% in the state of Florida.
Yes. Okay? I don't think we're where we need it.
We don't need two classifications yet. We don't,
Nope.
Right? And what you want to do, I understand you're a small program. You don't have the opportunity to build quite yet and everything else. But there should be some metrics in place, in my opinion, when you begin to move. And Brant talked about it 2 weeks ago, where the metric in the state of Florida is 400 schools. You have 400 schools, then they begin to create another classification and so on and so forth. These metrics need to exist. It shouldn't be just willy-nilly that the Georgia High School Activities Association says, you know what, we might have enough teams. We'll just go ahead and, we'll just
get a classification. You get a classification. You get a classification.
Exactly.
You get a classification.
Exactly. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, I don't know that it helps grow, especially the girls, right? Because one of the ways you grow is by having them compete. So that's, that was a long explanation or a little peek back on what you were saying as far as what you saw, and I didn't mean to take us down that
No,
path and
it's
that
true.
road, but I just wonder if we're trying to push too much, and it's going to grow.
No,
It's going to grow.
obviously, and it goes back to, I mentioned last week that we have so many girls in the state of Florida that are wrestling, but did they but we didn't get them to show up, right? And for whatever reason, anybody can come in and type. I mean, I get it. You're in South Florida. I live up on the Panhandle. I get it, right? Uh,
Yes.
the tournament is here, and I live there. It's too much money for me to get to it. It's this and that. I understand. How do we fix that, right? How do we give opportunities to all those girls to be on the team? Um, Obviously, when they get to the high school level, they can qualify and not have to be there, right? If they do what they do at the state tournament, if they podium, if they, there's different ways for them to qualify at that level. But at the lower level, and I'll stand behind what I said. I think if we brought as many kids, as many girls to Fargo as those other teams do, I think we'd compete. Um, but
Well, I
yeah,
mean,
I
I'll be on.
agree.
I'll also be honest with you in that 14 U's. I mean, go look at North Carolina. Go look at a lot of different states. The only weight classes when you get below high school level or high school age groups is not easy as a team, as a group. I mean, even Florida had, I mean, they'll have a couple of holes here and there, or Georgia will have a couple of holes. So filling a girls team is going to be even a little bit more difficult.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
so let's
that's good.
go. Let's talk real quick on a couple names. I don't know the 14U girls all that well, but I do know a few names, and I want to make sure I give them a shout out. There's a woman named Carolyn Dover out of Georgia at 115.
Yeah.
She is a hammer. I
Uh,
believe she beat Zoe Delgado in at Southeast Regionals for the championship at Southeast Regionals.
and and
She is
and
tough.
and Zoe Delgado is a hammer.
Yeah.
To
So
just
that's how good
one that
Carolyn Dover is. Karen Dover is a really, really good wrestler. Um, Tennessee girls. One of the things that was cool about my trip up to Tennessee is during the break, I actually got to see the 14U Tennessee girls kind of continue to work out for and be ready for their duels. So watching them do their conditioning, they used it as a training camp to leave this week and everything else. It was a lot of fun to watch them wrestle. I don't know those girls very well, but it was pretty cool.
and they're filling a team. They're filling a team. They're filling two teams, and I hope they go out there and end up in one of the gold silver pools, right?
Yeah.
That'd be but yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, if you go down to 16U, I mean, we
Yeah.
could. There's some. Let's
Is
see.
is there a particular name in the state of Florida that you're looking for and see how she does this coming week?
Well, it's weird because I'm on your 16U girls sheet, but that's not where I want to be. I want to be on your junior dual preview men and women because that's where there's matchups that are going to be awesome.
Okay,
Um,
but before we go to the junior women, do you have any 14U's that or 16U's that you want to look at that you want to see?
yeah, let's see here.
Because I want
I
to
mean,
give
look,
a few that everybody should
I mean,
watch.
listen, Paula Ramirez is
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. Juliana Case, unbelievable. I mean, a lot of these girls, Legel, Wayne, Jaluski, Ramirez, Hartley, Asabi, Case, Villar, Caldanillo, McFarland, Marvin. They're
So
all amazing,
he
but
just names everybody.
yeah,
He
yeah.
just names every.
But
I'm gonna give you one or two names. Okay.
but Paola, I would watch Paola Ramirez.
Good.
She's
Yes.
definitely a fun girl to watch. Also, Juliana Case is really fun to watch. I'm not sure why she doesn't have a pin rating. Maybe she doesn't get out enough.
I don't
Um,
know. It's a good question, and I had some conversations about the pin ratings with Dave Matthews just a few days ago. So I've got
did
some
he
more questions.
did he sing for you?
He did. He did. Crash. It was awesome. It was superb. He still got a voice. I'm telling you right now. once again, Dan brings us back to the 1990s. So
Yeah.
anyway, for the Georgia girls, Greta Garbazovas, if you don't know Greta, she is a fantastic wrestler. She will be somebody who will make a run for a Fargo title this summer. Trust me. Ella Hughes is tough. And then over in Tennessee, Delilah Queen, she is tough and definitely one to watch. Actually, several Tennessee girls I think that are good to watch as well. All right, so let's look at the junior duels. You gonna look at the girls first or the guys first?
Uh, I mean, well, the one thing that stuck out to me in the girls is that 120 weight class in the Southeast. I mean, it's unbelievably loaded. From Rankin
Mm-hmm.
to Urbina to Betances to Silvestre to Evelyn Holmes Smith. I mean, that is five girls that are unbelievable. But yeah, I don't know. You want to do boys first?
That's fine. We can start with the boys.
Uh, everybody's got a team but South Carolina, it looks like.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think South Carolina has a team. I just couldn't get a roster. So that's why I kind of left it there. So if I can get one, that would be great. But you were just
um,
mentioning a weight class in the girls. The weight class in the guys is 150.
oh
Deshaun
man.
Poe out of Alabama is a hammer with 1,100 plus pin rating. Anderson Heap with a 1,200 plus pin rating. Nathan Nielsen is tough, and he continues to get better and better. He might be a first year junior right now, but he's tough. Ian Fritz, who doesn't have a number, I think is a 2-time North Carolina state champion. So
So he can
you know,
wrestle.
yeah. And I don't know Alex Velasquez out of Tennessee. He's not the name that I would pick out of the state of Tennessee. Probably the Cordero boys down below. They're super tough. But the ones that so it's easy to focus in and say, wow, you gotta watch Michael Mako, right? You gotta watch Gunnar Holland, you gotta watch Anderson Heap, you gotta watch blah
Yeah,
blah 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 blah, right?
there's a kid here
I
that
like
want
the
to.
kids that are a little under the radar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so Roderick Brown went on a run last year at Fargo, remember? And he lost in the blood round, but he got hot. And I feel like when he's wrestling and focused in at that weight, he's really strong for the weight. He's a grown man for the weight, and I think he can surprise some people.
So my pick of somebody who I don't think many people know about, but I was super impressed with was David Leiva,
David Leva's another one. Yeah, he's unbelievable.
who beat Mitchum at Southeast Regions. And I'll tell you what, 126 is a tough weight, but I was super impressed watching him battle. So he may not be somebody everybody looks at and goes, "Oh yeah." I mean, it's not a Michael Mako, right? It's that we're not at that
No,
level, or Gunnar Holland, or Anderson Heap, or anybody else. But he's somebody I would be paying attention to.
I mean, look at 165 with Cody Kirk, Willie White, and Cade Perrent.
Yeah, yeah. Kate Parent, White is tough, 1045 rating, but man, we watched him wrestle all year long, and he can go.
Yep.
Um, Cody Kirk is definitely another one. And then you've got a kid over two kids on the other teams, North Carolina and Tennessee, with Troy
Yeah,
Shannon
Troy Shannon.
and Barrett Whaley. They're both really, really talented. Um, the biggest challenge for each of our teams, like, okay, let's take Florida, for example, or no, you know what? We talked about Florida enough. Well, I'm going to talk about Georgia. You've got Marley Washington, Karen McCormick, Cade Parent, all with 1,100 or plus like ratings. So they're going to win the majority of their matches. Okay. But in junior duels, if you don't have 10 kids with 1,100 ratings, I mean, I don't want to be a downer, but the truth is the level of competition is just at a different level. I mean, it's here
At junior duels. Yeah, I
at
mean, you're
junior
gonna.
duels. It is.
But I was surprised too, like with Georgia. Why don't we see Tank and his brother?
Yeah. Well, and I thought Tank. Can you hear my dogs now?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's awesome. Somebody's
Sorry.
coming in. That's all right.
Um, one of the things that hang
The
on a second.
dog, the dog's
Stop!
got you.
Stop, please! Stop!
The dog, dog's messing with your concentration.
I know. I can't even think. I thought Tank was supposed to be on the team, but maybe he's not. Maybe he's going to Fargo. He's not going to junior duels. And look, again, I'm not faulting anyone. Putting together a duels lineup, I've done it before. It's not easy. You get kids move in, you get kids move out, you get kids who get banged up, you get this happens, that happens. Plus, the trips aren't cheap, man. Like a trip to Tulsa is not cheap. Then to turn around and do a trip to Fargo. I mean, whether you can wrestle all the matches or not is one thing, but the cost on the parents is significant.
Yeah, and they're very close to each other, right? I mean, they're within a
Yeah.
month of each other. Yes, and that's why sometimes I wonder, like, I mean, there are some nationally ranked studs in here. I mean, and there are some studs. I mean, Cameron French, Anderson Heap, Gunnar Holland, Chris Sanchez, Michael Mock. I mean, you can go down the list, right? And even on the Georgia side, but do we ever get to a point where all these states can bring like the number one kid at that weight to these duels? Like, how awesome would that be if every state, not just Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, but how awesome would that be if we could truly see the best 14 kids or 18 kids? I think it's 15 here, right? 15 with freestyle.
Yeah, I think it's 15 and I think it's 15 in high school because they add a 100-pound weight class. Otherwise, the weight classes are the same.
Oh, yeah.
So,
how cool would that be?
So this is one of the things that bothers me. Okay. And I am all about us having a conversation about what is on your hat. You say it says Fargo. We know it is Fargo. It is Fargo, so on and so forth. But I will tell you that if you were talking about all the number ones, Oklahoma better have every single number one on the junior duels team because it's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Right? Come on. Okay. Bring it to Orlando. Bring it to Atlanta, Georgia. If we can't field a number one team in Atlanta, Georgia, or in Orlando, Florida, or in Charlotte, North Carolina, then that's a problem. But every year it's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Every year it's in Fargo, North Dakota. That's a trek for us. That is not an inexpensive trip. You get on a bus in Iowa, I can be there. I can be to one of these duels in 6 hours, right? I mean, we've got 18 hours, right? Or whatever the heck the case is to get from point A to point B.
Well, your crazy ass makes the drive, so you know.
I do. I drive every year to Fargo, and I know everybody's looking at me going, "What in the world are you talking about?" And I'm like, "No, it's actually a great thing. I love doing it. I get to stop in. I get to see different places along the way, talk to different coaches, so on and so forth. Plus, I don't mind it. But yes, it's it. Who wants to be in a van with all these kids who are cutting weight for 18 hours as they're driving across to Oklahoma?
Yeah, the trip back. The trip back is great. The trip there sucks. I mean, it's fun. Like, I'm being in the airport with the kids, on the plane with the kids, in the cars, driving from the airport to Fargo Dome. I mean, when they're cutting weight, it's terrible. Now the way back, fun, happy, partying, yelling, screaming, dancing. I mean, all that stuff is happening. But on the way there, they are dying. Except the heavyweights. I have a great video from the first year that I went to Fargo, the year that Daniel went. And I'm in the airport and I'm videotaping, and all the kids are right. And then in the corner is the big guys, and they're all eating hamburgers and French fries and drinking Coca-Cola, and I'm like, this sucks. This is great, right? Like, they're all there. They're like, yeah, we're good, right?
Yes.
So, good stuff. But one thing that I wanted to mention, I know we're cutting it close.
We're wrapping this up.
We had Giovanni Solis go down to I think it was Ecuador, and
Yep.
he was wrestling for Team Puerto Rico, and he brought home the gold medal there. So congratulations to the Solis family. Good
He
for
brought home gold. I thought he took home bronze. Was it gold in one
bronze, gold in freestyle, bronze in Greco.
in Greco? Okay, all right, yeah.
Um, so good for him. But we had a lot of kids peppered into that world tournament. I don't remember their names exactly, but congratulations to them. They were wrestling for Ecuador and Mexico and different people in the country. I know there's a photo of Coach Duck down there with like 6 different gladiators, and they were all wrestling for their own country, right?
I think
So
that's awesome, dude.
yeah. So
I
God
I think
bless
it's
them.
great.
But obviously Giovanni Solis and the whole Solis family. I mean, they're obviously doing a great job on the wrestling mat and with their kids. Their kids are very, very respectful young men, and they do a good job. But good for them. And listen, I was at that Pat Lugo event, and I got to meet Pookie. Pookie is the daughter. Pookie is the girl Solis, and she's out. And she's a little thing like this, and she's out, and you can hear the boys yelling, "Snap, snap, snap, snap!" At that level. And yep, they call her Pookie, and she was out there wrestling. So there is
So
a
little Pookie Solis is a name on the radar for the future.
name on the radar. You will hear her. I think her dad posted something the other day that said she's going to make your boys cry.
Oh, that might happen. That might happen.
Yes. So Pookie, keep an eye for Pookie.
Hey, one last thing before we go. Staunton River, Virginia, 3A state champs, latest team into the knockout. That makes 10 states. And I'm telling you right now, Staunton River is a team that can come in and beat everyone.
Listen, I can't wait.
They
And
are
have we?
tough.
Obviously, we know Wisconsin's going to be there because Wisconsin is the one that released the information. But have we heard of
I
any other?
haven't. I have speculation. I think I have an idea
Can,
who it is.
can we
It is.
can we reach out to a Frere, a Scotty Sentes, a
I think Campbell's in. I think Campbell's in.
the guy damn Bird's son over at Arkansas
Javi.
Little Rock, Javier, Javi, and can we get some of those teams? Hey, you know what I'd love to see? I'll put it out there. Bring Omi and the starting lineup from LifeU. I would love to see that.
I think that would be pretty cool. I don't know that any of those D1 schools are going to show up if LifeU shows up. So,
and that's what he's built there. Yep.
All right, man.
Cool.
It was a great week. We'll recap junior duels next week and the 14, 16U girls. Does that work?
Yeah, we should be. I believe I fly back Monday night. I'm going up to Naperville, Illinois, where my son goes to school. I'm going up to North Central. We're flying up. He's here living with us for the summer, but we're flying up for their annual golf tournament fundraiser. So we're going to go up. We're flying up Thursday, and I believe we fly back Monday. If it is Tuesday, I'll let you know. We can always just do it Wednesday or something. But so far, I think I'm coming back Monday.
So you're going to get some video to show us the North Central area? North Central room and stuff?
Absolutely. It's unbelievable up there. The room is incredible. It's huge. It's hot. Kids love it. And then we'll play some golf, which I'm terrible at. So hopefully, and because I'm a little rounder than I was when I was younger, it's harder to that whole, the kid. Yeah, it's hard to do that. So
and on that note, guys,
well, before
you
I
have
hang
a
up,
wonderful week.
But real quick, before I hang up, I didn't realize I saw you in a suit, and I was very impressed that they hem sleeves that short.
Oh wow, we're getting personal now. You know what? I'm sure they can probably tailor just about anything. But you're right. It is not easy. It is not easy.
I could imagine. All right, man. You take it easy.
Peace.
Bye.